Today I'm going to be speaking about dress watches, and in particular I'm going to be speaking about this Moser Endeavor Small Seconds. But the reason I'm making this video is that overall I've heard comments from a lot of folks in the community about dress watches being boring. And so I'd like to challenge that thought today. And but before I do, I'd like to do a quick wristwatch check. I am wearing today the Moser Streamliner, also known as the Green Dragon, one of my favorite watches of 2020. So let's talk a little bit about dress watches and why I think that they deserve more than a second chance. This is my beloved Moser Endeavor Small Seconds. It's made of rose gold, and at first glance, you might say, well, that is just your typical dress watch. That is a typical case. And what I would say is, and this is hearkening back to the Hodinkee video with John Mayer, look, what do you say? Look deeper, and then look deeper, and then even deeper, or something to that effect. And so today, we're going to do just that with this Endeavor. And I hope by the end of the video, you may agree that if you haven't yet started collecting any or adding any dress watches into your collection, that you might reconsider. So let's get started. So let me share with you why I love, in particular, this dress watch, but why you could apply the same principles that we're going to talk about to just about any watch, or how you could apply maybe some of these principles in selecting the right watch for you. So I'm going to just run through things that have caught my eye as I've grown, as my relationship has grown with this watch, and in particular, this brand. But let's just focus on the unique characteristics of this watch, and it might give you some ideas of how to look even closer when you're considering a dress watch, or maybe a collection of dress watches for yourself. So the first thing that I believe I noticed about this watch was this concave bezel. So if you look at that, let me see if I can get it a little closer here. This concave bezel is almost a highlight of this watch. The way that the light plays with it, you'll notice how it creates dark shadows within the gold, and it just is a lovely attribute of this watch. Now, part of me, in a practical sense, thinks, yeah, that actually acts as protection for the crystal as well. And that may be true, but that is really not what I see when I look at this. What I see is just how beautiful that concave bezel is and what that does with the light, right? It just is a magnificent, magnificent attribute of this Moser Endeavor dress watch. Now, like that, when I go to the flanks of this watch, check out how those, well, let me see if I can get a little bit better angle on it here. Look at how the lugs and the flanks of the case run from a convex to concave patterns, and then you've got equally brushing of the side there, and then you've got polishing of those concave areas that connect the flanks of the case with the polished lugs. And again, this is, it doesn't have to be these exact attributes. This just happens to be what I notice about this case and this design. And then likewise, I was just looking at this earlier. When you look at the way that the bezel interacts with the case, and then the Caseback does as well, now you see those just beautiful lines, beautiful connections between the front and the back of the case that just give it, I don't know, something extra that I think is worth looking at and worth appreciating. Now, before I get to any more, let's look at the dial of this. in every dial, you're going to have different depths, right? And in this one in particular, what's always stood out to me is just how close everything is to the dial, or I'm sorry, to the crystal, almost like it is nearly attached to the crystal, like you could reach directly into that and touch those applied markers and the applied numerals. Now, it's a very simple watch when you look at it, but when you really take time to examine each and every little aspect of it, you really begin to, pull out these distinguishing features. And again, I would say just in about any watch that you could really learn to love and appreciate about it and that would be unique to it. The next thing I want to look at is the crown. Oh, look at that. When I looked at it a little bit earlier, that the M for Moser was actually standing straight up, and I thought, wow, that's perfect. Anyway, as I look at the crown, and let me just pull out the crown a second, you're going to notice that the crown just has this beautiful knurling to it. It's almost an onion-style crown. In particular, with this watch, the response of the crown in terms of the mechanism is just flawless. The winding of it is buttery smooth, yet you can, really hear and appreciate that indistinguishable sound that goes along with a hand-wound piece, hand-wound movement. So I really enjoy everything just down to the crown itself. So now that we've looked at the front of the case, let's look at the back. Now, of course, a hand-wound movement to me is just beautiful. And in particular, this Moser exhibits what I think is beautiful finishing. I know that there are more ornate finishes out there, but does it really matter? At any price point, you can probably look at the movement of a timepiece and really begin to appreciate any of the idiosyncrasies associated with those watches. This happens to be a beautiful Moser, right, which is a higher horology piece. But it doesn't matter. If you were looking at something less expensive, you could still find the same sort of appreciation in anything. So in this one in particular, you look at the movement itself, the striping on the plates, and also would that be blued chatons? Or no, I'm sorry, that wouldn't be bluing. That would simply be the, oh gosh, I'm just not as technical as everyone who does these reviews. I happen to just appreciate the aesthetics of these things, right? But anyway, I love looking at the power reserve, and even the way that these casebacks, just use the space associated with the back to not only showcase the movement, but then I think there's something special about a caseback where you see the name of the brand, maybe some of the uniquenesses about it, like you see Power Reserve right there, right? There's something about the way that a caseback is built, something about how it's likely to fit your wrist, both taking into consideration how flat it is, the downturn of the lugs that are likely to wrap around your wrist. So let me do this. I'm going to take off my streamliner here and put on this one. I do want to mention while I'm doing this that this is a brand new strap that I got from HD Straps. By the way, for the future of all this, the only reason that I'm ever mention a brand or a maker is not because I ever want any sort of compensation. I don't know how large this channel might eventually get, but I don't want any kind of compensation for this. I simply love good design. I love the quality of the construction of a timepiece, and in this case, the quality of the construction of the strap as well. So this is from HD Straps, and just got this in. And you could argue that maybe I put this strap on here to make it more exciting. Now, I've got to say that I just love the strap, by the way, when I saw it. It's not about making this watch more exciting. It was about, first of all, I like supporting small makers. And secondly, I just thought it was super cool, and I was willing to roll the dice to see what it would look like on this timepiece. Most of the time recently, I've actually been wearing this let's see if I can get a good glimpse of it here. I've been wearing this kudu strap from Moser. Okay, this is a factory strap, super supple and comfortable. Right now I'm breaking in this HD strap, but this has been my go-to strap for a while. The one that it came with is also beautiful. This is an alligator strap that originally came with the Moser Endeavor, and this is equally comfortable. It's just a different look than the kudu strap. And you'll notice another distinguishing feature that when it comes to a dress watch, you may find you prefer, and that is the curved ends of this strap. So you'll notice that this has curved ends. The kudu strap has curved ends. And then when I had this one made by HD Straps, they actually curved the ends as well, which just meets or matches to the rounding of the case itself. So, all right. Another thing that I often find myself looking at is just the buckle. Now, this might seem very simple, but when you look at how much attention has been paid to not just making it a simple buckle, but also where you have polishing and beveling of that buckle versus where you've got graining. It's just all this simplicity. There's something beautiful about simplicity. And maybe that's what I appreciate so much about a dress watch, is that the elegance and that you find, the simplicity of design that you find, or the elegance that you find in a simple or seemingly simple anything, whether it's a watch or the design of a car or the design of a kitchen appliance. There is something about simplicity. And maybe that's what I like about this and about dress watches more than anything, is that it really takes good design to equate to a timepiece that is timeless, that is beautiful, that is elegant, and that you can really grow to love over time. I have my fair share of sports pieces, and they're fun, but boy, to me, I'm not sure that there is anything quite as good as a very simple, elegant, luxurious, and beautifully designed dress piece.